Today I'm going to try to draw this beautiful stone church in Krakow, Poland. This one is called St. Andrew's Church, and it was built in the 11th century from the years 1079 to 1098. And let me tell you, from an American perspective, that might as well be older than the earth. The church is built in a Romanesque style of both limestone and sandstone, the limestone for most of the external parts, the sandstone for the internal. It sits in the southern section of the Old Town, just around the corner from the castle, and it's one of my favorites in all of Krakow. I love the twin steeples, which incidentally is what drew me to draw it. As I have with the previous few tower drawings, I'm starting with the top. I've explained why I do this probably too many times now, so I won't go into it too deeply, but it's because I want to ensure that I don't accidentally cut off the top of the towers. By starting at the top, I sacrifice, maybe, the bottom portion, which is acceptable to me because the rest of the church isn't as much of a priority. That being said, while I start at the top for the tower on the left, I work my way down and then back up for the tower on the right. I did this partially because I wanted to test the waters to see if working in the opposite direction felt in any way different. And also because since the tower on the left was drawn and the tower on the right sits lower from my perspective, I knew I didn't have to worry about cutting it off at the top. I will say, I still prefer working my way from top to bottom, and I actually kind of wish I did it here. For the tower on the right, I think the proportions would have been more accurate had I measured its cross against that of the left tower, but I just as easily could have run into problems as I approached the rest of the church at its base. Candidly, I think that by drawing only one tower from top to bottom, that gives me a lot of latitude to play around with its proportions, whereas doing it twice, side by side, really challenges my abilities and my eye. I found that drawing these practically identical towers right next to each other was significantly more difficult than drawing just one. But despite that, I'd say this drawing comes together nicely in the end. So, I wanted to talk about these voiceovers for a second. To my surprise, I've not yet run out of things to say. Every time I sit down to record one, I'm curious to see if today is the day I have nothing to add, but thankfully that day has yet to come. With that, I would like to gauge your interest or feelings or possible indifference as it concerns some intermittent silence from time to time. Doing this every single day, I have a feeling that there will come a time when I truly do run out of things to say. Not for good, but, just on a given day. I think some drawings beget their own commentary, and others maybe not so much. Maybe there's a lot to say on Thursday, but Sunday, for some reason, feels like a quiet one. So, on behalf of curiosity and experimentation and letting me and the video breathe, I'm going to shut up for a bit and we'll see how it feels. And I'll see you on the other side. Okay. Well, from my point of view, that wasn't so bad. But I'm curious to know what you think. So let me know in the comments if you didn't mind the silence or if social media has rotted your mind and without constant stimulation, you zone out. I'm just kidding. If these don't work as well without the commentary, I actually do understand. And it's exactly why I've yet to try it. I know that without at least some talking, these videos would be a nightmare to watch. I know they are a nightmare to watch because I do it myself, especially while I'm still so far away from any real expertise. That, I suppose, would be fun enough to watch on its own. But even then, I'd imagine it would only be the people who really want to learn rather than being entertained. So, seriously, if the silence is more jarring and leaves you wanting more, please let me know. If you didn't care, same thing. Please leave your opinion below and also subscribe while you're at it. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so before we go back to the drawing, I want to get so tangential as usual and talk about endeavors like this one and how people can sometimes find it intimidating to start their own. When I say that, I mean starting something like a passion project from scratch without a clue as to whether or not it will succeed. I've spoken to 4 or 5 people about exactly this, even though I know it sounds like a really niche thing. Um, and part of the difficulty, according to them, comes from this thinking like all the way down the line to the highest echelon of whatever that thing is they might want to start. So, for example, I've felt this exact feeling toward making videos, not drawing videos, but as an extension of my photography, cinematic narrative type videos. I've dabbled in the most basic, ground level, beginner type of way, but looking into the future always bogged me down and ultimately prevented me from pursuing it. Because in a weird way, you're kind of competing with the best in the world. Uh, I think that's absolutely ridiculous and unproductive thinking. But when you're just barely in it, it can be difficult to separate what you want to do from its ultimate conclusion. So for the video making, I'd overthink it and put myself in the same room as like some of the best cinematographers in the world with all their training and experience and accolades, and I'd feel silly for even opening the door. From that perspective, it made sense to me, but for a reason I can't articulate, that never affected me in regard to starting certain photography projects, and it hasn't affected me with this pursuit of learning to draw. Photography wise, I felt like I could make beautiful photographs that could compete with the best, regardless of gear or anything like that. Whereas cinematography, I felt the opposite, that I was facing an impossibility, that there was too much to learn to ever get a leg up, and I'd always be on this ground level. I've been fortunate enough to apply such illogic to only that, as far as I know. But when other people have talked to me about the fear of starting things like this, I both understand and disagree. I'm at the bottom of drawing for all intents and purposes, and the heights that this medium reaches is staggering and objectively more intimidating than filmmaking. The other day, I was in an art store here in town buying another sketchbook. Also, did you notice I filled up the other one? Awesome. And there were all these people in there buying their supplies for whatever art they're doing that is almost definitely leagues above anything I'll make in the next year at least. At least that's what's in my head. But instead of feeling nervous or intimidated by that, like I want to give it up right away, like it's all a big waste of time, I feel and felt the opposite. I feel like I want to tell everyone that I'm a beginner, that I'm learning, that I'm seeking out knowledge, that I'm using the limited time I have to do something that I simply would like to do. And I think it is that simple. And getting in your head about it might be natural, but if you're like those friends of mine who wish they could up and start that thing that they're too scared to do, I urge you to get out of your own way and just go for it. Someone is always going to be better than you, so the whole point is meaningless. If you want it, go do it, and that's it. So, okay, before this ends, let's do a little rapid fire. The towers. I'm happy with them. Are they identical? No, they're not. I found it really easy to lose my place as I was going up or down, respectively, which meant I was adding details that, well, I guess weren't really there. That's fine, though. It still looks kind of cool. The other stuff, the rest of the church and the adjacent building. I'm actually really glad I included them because it gives some incredibly vague context, and in contrast to the highly detailed towers, highly detailed for me, but you know what I mean, they look oddly purposeful, and I like that. The angles of those buildings, not ideal, not fun. I don't like them. And let's see, the texture, the windows, all that stuff. I was shaky with this one, and I couldn't tell you why. It's not like I was nervous, but my lines were a bit uncontrolled, and I really don't like that. When I got my new sketchbook, I also bought a fine liner pen thing, and I've been practicing with that as well. And I have found that I am so much more precise with it, and all of the issues of a ballpoint pen have risen to the surface so rapidly. So maybe I'll start implementing that tool in these videos. Maybe it'll be a while. I'm not totally sure yet. I haven't made up my mind on that. All right, so here we have it. I'm feeling pretty good about this one. I practice some stuff like this at home, so I was feeling confident, and I think that shows through just a little bit. I'm also glad I knew when to stop and just let the towers take all of the attention. That was super smart of me. Anyway, what do you think? How do you like these towers compared to all of the other towers? Let me know in the comments, along with your thoughts on the other stuff we discussed in this episode. Episode? I haven't used that word yet, but sure, episode. All right, that's enough for today. I appreciate you being here. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.